Hey, how's it going? My name is jackiefishhh and welcome back to some more Total War Arena. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at how to defeat base campers. People who are sitting back playing on the defensive probably have the artillery advantage, so when you do try to attack them, you're pretty much going to be in the middle of a turkey shoot as their artillery rains down fire upon you. There are things you can do to hopefully try and bust these defenses, and that's what I'm going to be trying to show you guys in this battle. This is going to be a high tier gameplay as well. There'll be lots of tier 10s and tier 9s. I am personally playing my tier 9 Praetorian Cavalry. As you can see, I am 10,000 experience away from getting the Legatus for tier 10 Roman Cavalry, which I'm going to be making a video on, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so I can show you guys the power of the tier 10s. Now granted, they haven't been upgraded or anything. It's going to be a while since I have these guys fully decked out, but hopefully you guys can join me on that journey. So what we'll do is we'll jump into the replay and check out the gameplay. So we are on the map. We are going to be playing on Marathon, which really does suit base camping, if I'm honest. There's a huge open area right here, which if any enemies come in, you can absolutely hammer them with your artillery. As I said before, I'm going to be playing my tier 9 Praetorian Cavalry. We have Peleskos and Antimos, who I am both teaming up on. One of them is playing the tier 10 Archers, and the other is playing the tier 10 Royal Spartans, who look absolutely badass moving up in the forest. So we're going to be kicking off this battle, just kind of scouting around, moving up a little bit. We do have artillery of our own over on this left-hand side. We also have some tier 8s making their way to the center, and even some tier 7s back here who are going to be forming up. Now, the good thing is we are going to be pushing into the forest, trying to kind of take this control, with Antimos just making his way up and really trying to scout out the enemy. The nice thing is about these Spartans is you can go ahead and get up, especially because he is playing Miltiades, who has that awesome break ranks, really making your hoplites a lot faster than they normally would be. And I believe these guys aren't classed. Yeah, these guys aren't classed as heavy infantry, which is surprising. I think it's only the Roman armored legionaries who are classed as heavy infantry. But these guys, because of that, are going to be able to move through the woods fairly quickly, and this is kind of the first little indicator right here that we are not going to be having like kind of an even fight in the middle of the battlefield. The enemy, Antimos, only just run into one unit in the forest. There's nothing in the center, not even cavalry scouting in the center. So this definitely suggests that they are sitting back and they're waiting for us to come to them, which isn't a bad strategy. Like, I'm not saying sitting back and defending is a bad strategy whatsoever. Another indicator is the numbers. You can see we have the huge advantage in numbers, suggesting that they have either more artillery, archers, or cavalry than us, because obviously infantry count up more soldiers. So because of that, we're obviously going to have to be very, very wary. However, we're not going to sit back and just simply defend. We do want to try and take some enemies down. And there we have it, the first little artillery shots coming in. Thankfully missing, not hitting anyone, and Antimos is going to be able to back out of there. So this definitely does suggest that they are going to be, very much a defensive team, as they're not pushing on us whatsoever. We're not pushing on them quite yet. We are going to be setting up our own artillery, though, in a second. Setting up our own artillery is going to allow us pretty much just to kind of harass their defensive positions, as this artillery should be able to, you can see, this artillery can hit pretty much all the area around the watchtower. So even these defensive positions right here, we are going to be able to silence. You can see how far pushed up we are in the forest as well. Just trying to scout and really see what the enemy are doing. So this is kind of the first key thing when coming up against base defenders, is basically just scouting ahead, seeing what the enemy have, where they're defending, what are their strong points, where they setting up this castle defense. And you can kind of see that they're setting up spikes around here by the watchtower. You can see that they've also got archers set up in this pit, which are going to be raining down upon me. Thankfully, though, I'm pretty tanky, not taking too much damage. So yeah, you can see we've got a lot of missile fire coming in, and you can see this unit from Antimos, the Royal Spartans, are fighting in the shade. If only Leonidas was here. There are so many missiles. Luckily, though, he is going to be able to get a little charge off here. Unfortunately, being caught off, but our own counter artillery is coming in and doing a great amount of damage to these tier 9 archers, which is pretty nice. However, I'm going to be getting absolutely ravaged by the artillery, and this was kind of my bad for staying a bit too stationary. I should have moved around. And this is kind of our first assault right here. So we decide, we should probably push up, and Peleskos gets absolutely hammered by enemy artillery. And this is kind of the way you shouldn't approach these. Now, granted, he is coming up here to barrage and try and take care of the tier 9 archers as they run away, which is a really good move. As enemy archers run away, you want to try and be shooting at them. And this is also a really good sign of what you should be doing. You should be keeping an eye on where the artillery is coming in. And that was a really, really nice dodge there by Peleskos. He dodged one, realized by the time he turned around he wouldn't be getting hit by that. So, you know, kind of straight off the bat, this was kind of what we shouldn't really have done. We shouldn't have tried just to push up and attack the position. It's kind of a thing that you kind of just fall into, is like, oh, they've got artillery, we should attack them straight away. That shouldn't really be the case. Look at your surroundings and see what you have to your advantage. Well, we have a huge forest over here, which goes ahead and negates a lot of missile fire that comes in because there's trees everywhere. So what we kind of decide to do is we decide to pile into the forest. We also see that they've kind of got a little bit of a force pushed up right here, almost by itself. So we're going to immediately dive onto this. The Royal Spartans are going to be engaging on the Eagle cohorts, the tier 8s from the Romans, and we're going to be trying to cut these guys apart, kind of segregate them from the rest of the defense. So that's kind of part 2 of how to beat campers, is to basically just look where their forces are, and if you can kind of surround their forces, segregate them from the rest of the army, pick them off, that's going to be really useful. And you see some of the artillery shots are coming in, but it's not really doing as much damage because the trees are in the way. So we're using the terrain to our advantage, we're popping our fears, we're popping our silences, and we're trying to kind of take out these troops as easily as possible. Granted, another thing you could easily do, it's very boring, but you could just not attack them. You can just sit back in the base and let them come to you, as we have the number advantage. And if you don't know, if you have the number advantage by the time the timer runs out, you will win the battle. So because of that, we could have simply just sat back in our base and just let the enemy have to, move their artillery forwards and then attack, come out of that defensive position. But we feel like that, that's not very fun. That's pretty boring. We want to obviously always attack and have a good battle more than winning. So we are going to be pushing in. I come in here and actually pop my war cry. That's something you can really do as Scipio. You don't have to always engage. You can use that war cry very aggressively. And you can just see the artillery fire, which is still coming in. Even though we are in the trees, it is coming in pretty deadly, and it is causing a lot of damage to our tier 7s here. Luckily that is just on the tier 7s and it's not really too bad. Overall, I think, again, their artillery really got a good advantage right there of just hammering us in the forest. We really should have maybe have sat back a bit more until we really made our decision. We also have some enemy cavalry right here as well. The tier 8s from the Romans, the Italian noble cavalry, I believe this is, are going to be moving up. They are going to be obviously attacking these spikes, destroying the spikes before pushing in. However, this is going to be a great opportunity for us just to segregate them. Once again, I was an absolute idiot here. I didn't really think they had vision of me, but obviously this Legatus cavalry could see me, or the Italian noble, cavalry could see me, and that I just got hammered. I pretty much lost an entire unit to that, which was really unfortunate. This player, though, is going really ham for artillery, and he's not going to achieve anything. Like, I have infantry there, our allies have infantry there, I have cavalry there. We're just going to surround him and kill him. Like, he might rout our own artillery, but he's not really going to be stopping us whatsoever, and he's just going to kind of almost sacrifice his cavalry, which really isn't a smart idea. So now we kind of picked off all the stragglers, we've kind of taken apart the enemy, kind of flanks a little bit, people who have pushed up, and we've dealt with them. Now kind of comes phase 3. Look for the weak spots. Look for where they have the least amount of vision and push that area, because if they don't have vision, they're not going to be able to shoot you. So as you can see, the watchtower on Marathon is right here. This means that the least amount of vision they will have is over in this right-hand side. Not only does it give us kind of protection from missiles, it also allows us to approach the enemy. If they want to scout out this area, they have to deploy some of their 1,400 men to this area, which again segregates them from the rest of their army. It's kind of almost like a Caesar tactic, divide and conquer. So my allies are going to be pushing up, with the rest of the team through this forest, through the line of sight where they can't be shooting us because they don't have any troops in this forest. And if they did, we could surround and kill them bit by bit. So because they don't have anyone here, we're basically just marching through this forest for free. You can see I'm committing my own cavalry down here as well through the breach, and we're going to be trying just to come around the flank, because once we kind of come out the forest here, it's a really short move to their artillery, which is, obviously going to be around here. So we can really try and take this advantage, minimize the gap. Our archers are going to be very close as well. So that's kind of like phase 3, is see where the enemy are. As you can see, we just come in here and we just slaughter this other cavalry unit who's going way too hard for this artillery. You have to be patient with your cavalry, and that player definitely was not. So you can see pushing up here, we're going to be attacking where there's the least amount of vision and there is the smallest amount of ground to get to the enemy. You can see Peleskos coming up here. The tier 7 archers do not know we're in here yet, and they're about to. There we go. The barrage coming out, and you can just see these guys getting melted right now. And that was down to us kind of coming through the woods and attacking, These archers don't know we're here, so because of that, we can just come in. Unfortunately, there's more spikes here, more and more spikes. They really went a ham on there. There's also infantry caltrops everywhere. There's a lot of defensive positions. So now we've kind of shown our hand. We got some good damage off onto the archers. However, the artillery now knows we are in this position. Even though they know we're in this position, you can kind of see, you know, look how much of a gap closer we've done. Now we only really have to arrive, you know, I don't know, like 100 feet. Whereas before, if we were to attack down the center, you think of how many more shots they could get off on us. Now, granted, we don't have vision of them. I'm trying to use this small unit of cavalry I have right here, even though it is 3 men, to discover where their artillery is. You can actually see one of their artillery units did just break there as well, which was really good for us. And now I've discovered where their artillery is. So that allows our own artillery to start peppering this. We've kind of pushed our artillery up as a really offensive position right here, and they're going to be unloading a lot of fire onto the enemy positions where they're kind of shooting us. With the rest of my cavalry now, I have to be really patient with it because I know I'm going to have to try and find the gaps in the hole, and I'm going to have to wait until our infantry is really engaged their infantry before really pushing up. Over on this left-hand side, I know taking this watchtower is going to be so vital, because if we have this watchtower, we can see all of everything they're hiding in there, which is why I'm charging in right here against infantry, which I would never really recommend taking on 2 units of infantry. However, I felt like this unit would come and help us and really help out, because having this watchtower gives us so much vision of everything. You can see Antimos as well running down with his Royal Spartans. The break ranks really coming in and hitting these guys. So I felt like having the watchtower was so important that it was worth sacrificing my unit, expecting this guy to come in and attack and help out. Unfortunately, he doesn't support me. He is telling me to go back and retreat, which unfortunately I've already popped over perseverance, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be stuck into this battle till the bitter end, unfortunately, meaning that I'm going to be probably just sacrificing this unit. However, it's not the end of the world. I also bring up my own cavalry as well and get a really nice Praetorian cavalry charge off onto the tier 9 archers. This unit of Crimean heavy archers is going to get smashed. Not only that, I'm also going to be hitting a lot of this artillery as well. So having the vision of the artillery is going to enable our archers to start firing down on them. Luckily, the artillery pieces themselves are providing a bit of defensive cover. However, you know, getting in units and attacking these guys is kind of like the last stage of the battle, is getting vision of their artillery once you pushed up through the smallest possible area. The place that offers you the most amount of cover is pushing up and then getting vision of the artillery and then assaulting the position. The cavalry has to wait in wait in the wings until the infantry is engaged the camping infantry, and then you just look for a gap, use your own archers to destroy their archers, and then push in. So as you can see, you know, I have taken this watchtower, which is going to be giving us some good vision. However, it's not really going to be enough as my unit is going to get slaughtered. However, I understand why my ally did retreat, and our artillery is operational still. That's kind of one of the things we have to our advantage. As we're attacking their position, we're getting very, very close quarter combat with their own artillery, you know, even engaging it. And whereas our artillery is kind of on the back foot, the enemy are really, really focused on defending their stuff. So it means they're not kind of focusing on attacking, meaning our archers and our artillery is kind of safe. You can see Peleskos is extremely low though, so our archer force has been very depleted. There are still a few more cavalrymen moving around, but we've kind of almost broken this defense already. You can see that we have our cavalry moving in. I've managed to take out the artillery, so they no longer have the artillery. They don't really have a lot of archers as well, because their infantry has been so busy, you know, fighting, defending the base. We've kind of been able to use that to our advantage and abuse the gaps in the enemy lines. I also holding up these 2 units of infantry as well right here has also been actually really useful for us taking out the rest of the artillery. As you can see, that's what I'm doing. Also, if you look at the balance of power, we have a DC in our base right now, and he's just sitting there. So this is 300 men we're currently not using in the battle, meaning that the balance of power is actually extremely even right now, and could really go either way, because, you know, there's a 300-man difference, but our 300 men are all the way back there. I think one of the most important things in this battle is that our artillery is still shooting. Because the enemy are acting so defensively, they're not, you know, actively trying to attack our artillery positions. They are now, but it's kind of a little bit too late. We look at the balance of power, we look at the score as well. You can see our artillery player is right up here shooting away. Their artillery player was up here as well, but I mean, he could have been even higher if we didn't come through the woods right there. So now they are pushing up, kind of a little bit too late. Our artillery has really done a lot of damage to their lines, and he's going to be attacking. We've managed to kind of crack this base defense. They've got a large portion of their soldiers over on this right-hand side. We've killed their archers, we've killed their artillery, and now it allows us to really dominate the battlefield, still having our artillery operational. So they are going to be trying to push in, and I really like this offensive artillery position right here by our artillery player, by Ryan. I think he did a really good job here of really, kind of seizing the opportunity. We needed our artillery up here to start hammering their defensive positions whilst we attacked them. That's kind of one of the downsides, as I've been mentioning, is once you are so defensive, you're just not focusing on taking out the enemy artillery, which kind of allows us to play kind of almost a mid-defense, We can hold this position right here whilst we're attacking them. They can't shoot us, but we can shoot them. And ideally, just having vision of this entire area through this watchtower, I think definitely enabled us to win. So kind of just to run through a few things you should try and actively do whilst you're attacking people who are camping in the base with artillery is 1, try and find the shortest possible route where the enemy don't have vision. Also, look for suitable terrain which will provide you with damage reduction, whether it is hills which are in the way, which also obscure vision, or if it's forests which protect you from missile fire. Also, the reason forests are so good as well is that they provide you with a real nice vision debuff to the enemy. The enemy have to be pretty close to you to see you unless they have a watchtower there. So because of that, you can really just sneak troops up in there and really, just minimize the effectiveness of the artillery, because the artillery, if they're not shooting, they're kind of wasting time and wasting their valueness in the battle itself. The next one is try and get as much vision of the area when you do decide to push as you can. So you know where the artillery is, you know where their archers are, and it allows your own archers to start hammering away at these defensive positions as well as your artillery. The last one is just kind of, engage the enemy with your infantry. Just try and work as a team, because they are definitely working as a team, and look for the weak spots. That's kind of the best advice I can give you guys. So we are going to come out on top. There are a few more kind of, scattered infantrymen around. The timer is actually going to run out in this battle, but luckily we have the huge man advantage, so we are going to come out on top in this battle. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully I gave you guys a good few tips in this. I know it was kind of muddled. I repeated myself a ton in this replay. However, hopefully I gave you guys some good tips so you can take forward when you're attacking base campers, because I know it can be really, really frustrating sometimes when you do come up against a team just sitting back and defending. However, I think it's a valid strategy, and I think it's very much a valid way of destroying them. I don't think defending is the way to win most of the time. I think you can really come up trumps when you do attack the enemy and take the offensive foot. So make sure to drop a like and a comment if you enjoyed this battle, and I'll see you guys next time, and fish out.